The text arrived while I was hemming the dress I'd planned to wear to my son's wedding. My fingers stilled on the soft blue fabric as I read Caroline's message for the third time. Helen, after much consideration, we've decided it would be best if you didn't attend the wedding. My family has certain expectations, and we need to maintain a specific image. You'll embarrass us in front of my relatives. I'm sure you understand. See. I set down my sewing needle and stared at the words. After 2 years of trying to build a relationship with my future daughter-in-law, it had come to this. I typed back a simple response. Okay. 3 dots appeared immediately, like she was expecting an argument. They disappeared. Appeared again. Then nothing. My phone rang. It was Ethan, my son. Mom, I'm so sorry, he began, his voice strained. Caroline is just stressed about the wedding. Her family is, they're different. Old money, you know? She's worried about impressions. And I make a bad impression? I asked quietly. No, it's not like that. It's just, you're a seamstress, and they own vineyards and summer in the Hamptons. I see. Mom, please don't be upset. We'll do something special after the honeymoon. Just the 3 of us. It's fine, Ethan. I understand. Really. I want you to be happy. After I hung up, I carefully folded the blue dress and put it back in my closet. Then I made myself a cup of tea and called my best friend Meredith. She did what? Meredith shouted after I explained. That entitled little. It's done, I interrupted. But I need you to do me a favor. Can you handle something tomorrow? The next morning, I was at my sewing machine, working on a commission for a client, when my phone rang. It was Genevieve Laurent, the wedding planner. Mrs. Chin? I'm calling about the final payment for the Blackwood Chin wedding. The remaining balance of $127,000 is due today. I see, I said calmly. And who are you expecting this payment from? There was a pause. From the benefactor account, of course. The one that's been paying all along. But the last transfer was declined this morning. How unfortunate. Perhaps you should speak with the bride. I'm sure she can sort it out. But you're listed as the account holder. Mrs. Chin, is there a problem with the funds? No problem at all, Genevieve. I've simply decided to redirect my charitable giving. I'm sure Caroline's family will be happy to cover it. After all, they have such high standards to maintain. The silence on the other end was deafening. Mrs. Chin, Genevieve's voice was careful now. Am I to understand that you've been paying for this entire wedding? The venue, the flowers, the catering for 300 guests. Was paying, I corrected. Past tense. But the wedding is tomorrow. Yes, I'm aware. How unfortunate about the timing. Do give Caroline my regards. I hung up and returned to my sewing. 23 minutes later, my phone exploded with calls. Ethan. Caroline. Unknown numbers that were probably Caroline's parents. I let them all go to voicemail and continued working on the intricate beadwork for my client's gown. Let me explain how a simple seamstress could afford a $200,000 society wedding. I'm Helen Chin, 52, and yes, I'm a seamstress. What Caroline never bothered to learn in her 2 years of dating my son was that I'm not just any seamstress. I'm the seamstress. The one who creates custom gowns for A-list celebrities under an exclusive label. The one whose waiting list stretches 2 years out. The one who charges $50,000 for a single dress and his clients happy to pay it. I started my business 30 years ago after my husband died, leaving me with a 2-year-old son and a mountain of medical debt. What began as taking in alterations to make ends meet evolved into a boutique fashion house that I deliberately kept under the radar. No flashy studio, no social media presence, just word of mouth among the ultra-wealthy who valued discretion and craftsmanship. My workshop is in my modest suburban home. I drive a 10-year-old Honda. I shop at Target. By choice. Because I learned long ago that true wealth whispers, and I had no need to shout. When Ethan introduced me to Caroline Blackwood 2 years ago, I saw immediately what kind of person she was. The way she looked at my house with barely concealed disdain. The way she mentioned her family's money within the first 10 minutes. The way she cringed when Ethan proudly told her I was a seamstress. But I loved my son, and he loved her. So I tried. When they got engaged, Caroline made it clear that her family would be handling the wedding. Mummy has very specific ideas, she'd said, not quite meeting my eyes. I'm sure you understand. I understood perfectly. I wasn't good enough to be included. A month later, Ethan came to me in tears. Caroline's family was having financial difficulties. Apparently, Mr. Blackwood's investments hadn't performed as expected. They couldn't afford the wedding Caroline had her heart set on. She's devastated, Mom, Ethan had said. This isn't about the money for her. It's about tradition. Her family's been members at the Fairmont Country Club for generations. All the Blackwood women get married there. So I made a decision. I created an anonymous benefactor account through my lawyer and had him approach the couple with an offer to pay for the wedding as a gift. The only condition was complete anonymity. Caroline had been ecstatic. She'd planned a $200,000 wedding without a second thought, never questioning where the money came from. I'd watched from the sidelines as she chose $15,000 floral arrangements and a $30,000 dress. Not one of mine, of course. I wasn't prestigious enough for a Blackwood bride. And now, 2 days before the wedding, she'd uninvited me via text. The calls continued for an hour before Ethan showed up at my door. His face was pale, his hair disheveled. Mom, he said, breathless. The wedding planner called Caroline. She says you've been paying for everything. Is that true? I continued pinning the fabric on my work table. Would it matter if it was? Of course it matters. Caroline uninvited you. Yes, she did. Because I'd embarrass her in front of her rich family. I looked up at him. Funny how my money wasn't embarrassing, though. Mom, I didn't know. That your mother could afford a $200,000 wedding? Why would you? You've never asked about my business. Neither has Caroline. You both just assumed I was a poor widow getting by on alterations. Ethan sank into a chair. Caroline is freaking out. Her parents can't pay. They're apparently broke. Her dad's been keeping up appearances, but they're mortgaged to the hilt. How unfortunate. Mom, please. I know what she did was wrong, but the wedding is in 2 days. All those guests who were too important to see me at the wedding? I set down my pins. Tell me, Ethan, were you going to stand up for me? Or were you going to let your mother sit at home while you celebrated with the Blackwoods and their society friends? His silence was answer enough. I need to show you something, I said, leading him to my home office. I opened my portfolio and showed him photos of my work. Gowns worn on red carpets. Dresses featured in Vogue. Thank you notes from Hollywood royalty. His jaw dropped. Mom, these are yours? Every bead, every stitch. I pulled out my client list. Recognize any names? He was speechless. The list read like a who's who of entertainment and high society. Why didn't you tell me? He whispered. Because you never asked. Because you were ashamed to tell people your mother was a seamstress. Because when Caroline assumed I was poor, you didn't correct her. I'm so sorry, he said, tears in his eyes. What do I do now? That's up to you. You're marrying someone who judged me unworthy without ever trying to know me. Someone who cared more about appearances than family. Is that what you want? My phone rang. The caller ID showed Blackwood. I handed it to Ethan. Hello, he answered. I could hear Caroline's mother's shrill voice from across the room. How dare your mother pull this stunt? We'll sue. This is extortion. She can't just. Ethan hung up. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he asked, Mom, can I see the dress you were going to wear? I showed him the blue dress I'd been hemming. Simple but elegant, made from silk I'd hand-dyed to match the wedding colors Caroline had chosen. It's beautiful, he said softly. You made this? I make all my clothes. Though apparently, they're not good enough for the Fairmont Country Club. His phone buzzed. A text from Caroline. Your mother is ruining everything. Fix this now. Ethan stared at the message for a long moment. Then he turned off his phone. Mom, he said slowly, I think I need to reevaluate some things. That's your decision, I said. But whatever you choose, I won't be paying for a wedding I'm not invited to. That's final. The next day, the society pages had a field day. Blackwood wedding canceled due to mysterious benefactor withdrawal. The truth came out in pieces. The Blackwoods' financial troubles, Caroline's treatment of me, the last-minute scramble to save face. But the best part came a week later when Caroline's aunt, Margaret Blackwood Astley, called me directly. Mrs. Chin? I heard about what happened with Caroline's wedding. Disgraceful behavior on my niece's part. I wonder. I've been looking for someone to design my daughter's debutante gown. I saw your work at the Met Gala last year. The emerald dress on Rebecca Stone? Magnificent. Would you consider taking the commission? I smiled. I'll have to check my schedule. I'm quite booked, and my rates have recently increased. Money is no object for the right craftsperson. And Helen? Caroline is a fool. Any family would be lucky to have you. As for Ethan and Caroline, they're working through things. The wedding has been postponed indefinitely. Caroline apparently had a meltdown at the country club when she realized that several of her mother's friends were clients of mine. Suddenly, the embarrassing seamstress was the exclusive designer they'd been trying to book for years. Ethan has been coming by more often. Last week, he asked to learn about my business. Yesterday, he helped me pack gowns for shipment to clients in Paris and Dubai. "Mom," he said as we worked, "I'm sorry I didn't see you." "Really see you? We all make mistakes," I told him. "The important thing is learning from them." "Do you think you'd ever forgive Caroline?" I considered this. I'd forgive someone who made an honest mistake. But Caroline didn't make a mistake. She made a choice. She chose to value status over family, appearances over authenticity. That's not something an apology can fix. "I know," he said quietly. "I'm starting to understand that." My phone buzzed with a new client inquiry. Another Hollywood name looking for award season magic. I smiled and set it aside. There would be time for business later. For now, I was teaching my son about the family business he'd never known existed. About the grandmother who'd taught me to sew. About the husband whose death had forced me to turn a skill into an empire. About the quiet pride of building something with your own hands. The wedding dress I'd made for Caroline, yes, I'd made her one, planning to surprise her, hung in my studio. A $50,000 creation that would never be worn. I'd donated it to a charity auction where it sold for twice that amount. Caroline had texted me once after everything fell apart. "I hope you're happy. You've ruined my life." I didn't respond. I was too busy ruining her life by living mine. Successfully, quietly, and without apology. The seamstress she'd been too embarrassed to include had been the one keeping her fairy tale afloat. There's probably a lesson in there about not judging books by their covers, or about pride going before a fall. But I had a new collection to design and orders to fill. The fashion world waits for no one, not even dismissed future mothers-in-law who turn out to be anything but what they seemed. Besides, I had a new dress to hem. This one for an actual celebration, my business's 30th anniversary gala. An event where everyone would be welcome, regardless of their net worth or social standing. Caroline had been right about one thing. I would have stood out at her society wedding. Just not in the way she'd assumed.